Thank you for listening. If you want to know more about us and our services, please visit our website at www.wsk9co.com. We've been kind of going through the alphabet in case you haven't noticed overall, but we're going to be D is for dogs. And we have a client with us, Jill, and we're going to talk about her journey with her dogs and some of the choices and things that she made. So, Jill, tell us a little bit about the two terrorists.
Well, I have two little schnauzers that are turning 2 this month. Bought them within a few weeks of each other. They're about a month apart. And it has been a journey. I thought they'd come and we'd be able to just have them go potty and everything would be great. And it turned out that they are a little bit more to handle than what I thought they would be. So they're cute, they're fun, but they are energetic. And I didn't realize how different they were until you pointed that out to me, Joe.
Yeah.
And now I see it all the time, every day, on the differences that they have. And then we have our older dog, a schnoodle, added to the mix, and
right.
It adds quite a dynamic to my house.
Yeah, because your older dog, she's kind of on her own agenda. She would like them to follow her and do what's right.
Absolutely. But then when she wants to play, she wants them to play with her.
Yeah, yeah. So they're always questioning her,
yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you sure you want to play? You don't want to play. Oh, it's sleep time. No, it's not sleep time. And so it's fun. It's a fun dynamic. And it's fun, Jill, because you have taken on the challenge of training them and making them the dogs that you want, but also the dogs that they should be. And not to say that dog training isn't fun, but when you have an owner that's committed, it makes the journey a little bit easier and just different.
Well, and you've made it easy for me to train me to know how to train them.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you're training me more than you're training the dogs.
Yep. What's been one of your biggest challenges with them?
Oh, it varies weekly.
Right.
One of the biggest ones, the reason why I called you, was that they were barking and lunging at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been able to redirect them to other things when they're barking, or kept them out of the areas where they do bark,
mm-hmm.
and kept them out of the areas where they could lunge at the door and run away. And my biggest concern was that they would run away and I'd never get back because they wouldn't know how to come home.
Right.
And so that was probably the biggest thing. And then taking them on walks.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be part of my life.
Yep.
And they weren't, because I didn't dare take them outside.
Right. So Shannon, you've walked them. So tell us a little bit about your experience with them.
So I just, go to the house to go pick them up, and they didn't really want to go with me. There's two kinds of dogs that really, really want to go with you and dogs that really don't. And so they were just a little timid. They'd let me go up to them and pet them and put the leash on, but they had this feeling like, we don't really know you. We don't think we want to go with you. And I'm like, come on, we're going for a walk. It's fine, dragging them along out the door. And then once we're outside, they're totally fine. And then they just walk right along with you, right by your side. Nothing really phases them. Some dogs that I walk are really, really afraid of everything in the world. And these dogs aren't like that. They just truck along until you get to a manhole. And the first time that happened, they just started like wigging out, I call it, just like being totally weird. And then I start looking around, trying to figure out what's making you weird so I can try and help with this. And then we get to the manhole, and they're just like stone, like stopped. And I'm like, the manhole. So we just walked around the manhole, and then, we just tried to stay away from that. But for the most part, I walk, all ranges of dogs, and they're, for the most part, really, really good, happy little dogs to go on a walk. Just go on our little walk and go home.
But we couldn't do that before I met you.
Yeah.
They barked and lunged at everything,
Yep.
and got tangled up, and I'm twisted, and I'm frustrated and stressed, and I didn't realize how much my energy was going on them.
Right.
And that they were then stressed to go on their walk.
Yep.
So now I don't do that. And
Right.
it's amazing how different it is. And Shannon, it's stranger danger. We taught them that. So they just don't go with strangers.
It's a good thing. But no biting, just questioning, right? So with having 2 puppies, that is one thing that we don't really, I guess, condone as far as getting 2 dogs from the same litter. These guys were not from the same litter, correct?
Correct.
2 different moms, same dad, something like that?
Yes.
And what made you decide to get another one? I mean, did you have them both picked out, or did you already have that decision of getting 2, or?
Well, you go and you see all the cute puppies,
Yep.
and you think, oh, and I was worried Bailey was older, and so I was worried she wouldn't get purchased, so we bought them both.
Okay.
Actually, it was my husband went up with me after I went to see them to have him choose, and he said, we're getting them both.
Okay.
So we just thought they'd keep each other company and leave our older dog alone.
Yep.
So that's kind of the reasoning.
Okay. Michelle, what's been your overall experience with working with siblings or just 2 young dogs in the household?
I would use mine as an example. My dogs are 6 months apart, so in my head I was like, that's plenty. The one's just going to understand the other one. They love each other enough that it's cute, but it's not cute. And my Cavalier, she's pretty mellow and doesn't really care and stuff like that, but if you take her away from my Papillon, he's a wreck. He's a wreck without her. And it's really hard, and it like breaks my heart now that they're getting older because she's a Cavalier, so she's going to go first, and it's going to be so hard for him. So the separation anxiety for sure.
I think another piece to it too is we've lost 2 dogs in a very short amount of time, and I think about that. Like, I couldn't have 2 puppies only for that reason. Like, they're going to grow up, and it's like they go fairly quickly. And I've had 2 dogs that were not, it was super crazy. One started getting super sick, and then the other one started getting sick. But it was more of a mental sickness. And so when she had a degenerative disc problem in her back, and so she went, and the other one, he literally went over and died with her. And I ended up euthanizing them together. And this was early on in life. And so it's always in my head of that part of it of life. Yeah, puppyhood is challenging because they feed off of each other. They bond tighter to each other because they're of their same species, so they're going to bond tighter and all of that. But you don't really think about what happens emotionally for us, selfishly, to our dogs like that. So, and they still bond together no matter what age they are. It's still kind of a struggle, but I always think about that because I went through it myself, and I just selfishly, that's hardcore for me. And so I think as you get the puppies and it's hard, and then they get old together and it's hard. And so it's just, I think it's kind of a funny cycle that we go through and don't really think about what happens over there with them. But Jill, tell me, and not to get depressing about it all.
I was going to say, now that I can wipe the tears away,
I know.
my dog that passed, and then the ones that will.
Yeah, it's hard. So then you'll have to get some more because...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I never thought that I would get a dog after we had to put our Schnauzer down 2 years ago.
Okay.
I didn't think I'd replace her.
And what was the deciding factor of getting?
All of a sudden I was ready. It was like, okay, we need another dog.
Yeah.
And it's helped our old dog move a little bit more, which has been nice, and kind of hopefully prolong her life so we don't have to go through that too soon.
Right.
But it's been, it was just time, plus our daughter got married, so I replaced her with 2 puppies.
Okay.
So.
Okay, good. So your daughter got married and she has a dog.
Yes.
So tell me about adding her dog into the mix when she comes over.
Well, it's interesting. So her dog started out smaller than my dog's in height. And so, it was so cute because he couldn't get up the stair. And so I had to make little stairs out of blankets so he could get up. And then he kept growing and the dogs would play. And then he grew some more. And now he's 45 to 55 pounds. And my dogs are about 10 pounds.
Right.
And it's a little intimidating. He wants to play with them like they always played because he's still a puppy.
Right.
And they're a little intimidated by his size.
Yeah.
And I think my one dog doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So she wants him to, sniff her and they want to play, but then it gets rough and out of hand very quickly.
Yep.
because
Yeah.
she gets very upset. If that's the
Right.
right word. I don't know if upset's
Yep.
the right word or not, but
So he's a bulldog.
an English bulldog, so he's big.
So, yeah. So those two are like, what have you become? So tell me where you're at in the journey of dog training and what continues to drive you.
You know,
with training.
the biggest thing that I have found is if I am not consistent, and I'm finding that if I take a day or two off of walking or a day or two off of the training, whether it's target training or going to the porch or not barking, if I take a day off and I'm just too tired to deal with it, I find that I'm having to go back to the basics all over again, and it's harder. It's more for me.
Yeah.
So my big thing is that I've got to be consistent and have it added to my schedule every day almost, so that I know that I wake up, I take the dogs for a walk, or I wake up and I train them before I get going, so it's not too hot outside, and adding
Right.
it to my routine so that they can fit into my world.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm going right now, is just having it be consistent for me,
Yeah.
so it's consistent for them and they'll be happier.
Right. What, on top of feeling like you backslide, what joy do you find in working with them?
I love when I see them working and thinking. I wish I had I will need a body cam so I can get when I have the one and she's working and she's thinking and you can see her mind working and she's turning her head and she's sitting down and laying down and what do you want from me? And when she gets it right, it's like she goes, oh my gosh, I got it.
Right.
So I love seeing her accomplish it and being so excited for her. And then she gets excited and, she wants me to hold her hand or a high five or whatever she's giving me. And it's so fun. My other one isn't as excitable, but Piper isn't as excitable as Bailey is. But so that's what I love to see, is to see them be calm, and they're happier dogs.
Yeah.
They're my babies. I want them to be happy, and when we're working on things, it's like they're happier.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. So we separated the two for 2 weeks.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about that experience when Bailey came and stayed here.
With the dogs that were left home.
Uh-huh.
It was interesting. My Piper and my old dog, it's like they just hung out together, and Piper kind of let the old dog decide and kind of dictate what was going on, but then she would also try to engage in some play. But Piper kind of turned into an old lazy dog during those 2 weeks because she didn't have her, wrestle playmate.
Right.
But she was sad. I mean, they didn't know what to do. I think that when they're all separated, even when we take them training or to the vet or anywhere, that they have a hard time and bark usually the whole time they're in the kennel.
Yeah.
So without each other.
When Bailey came home, just experiencing her here, she's definitely a worker bee. She definitely wants to work. She pushed a little bit of, I don't think so, kind of more of the little schnauzer type mentality. But once she realized that she had purpose and that nobody else was going to be her support. Of course, we had the other dogs here, but not Piper, right? And it wasn't your old dog. It was just she had to stand on her own 4 feet and figure it out. And she kind of went through a cycle of I'm going to be grumpy and mean to, everything's fine, and that I now have purpose and I have routines, and that's when she really started to thrive. But when she came back home, what shifted?
It was interesting. She kind of had to work her way back into, I guess 3 could be a pack.
Yep.
But, back into the pack. But I saw her distancing herself. So we have a chair that's the dog chair that we call it at home, and the dogs will all sit on it. And she goes to a different place. And she needs her alone time. And I think she is okay with that. And the other dogs are okay with letting her have that rather than, when they would kind of bug each other, trying to get by each other or anything, that Bailey will take her alone time. But it did take a few days for them to reacclimate with each other. And I think Piper was a little angry that Bailey left, and Bailey was a little angry. So there were some, confrontations or
Right.
some scuffles, but
Yep.
They fight like siblings do, kind of like my sister and I used to.
Right.
So
Yep.
kind of the same thing.
So Bailey has continued to maintain that I need to go away and check out because it's too much, or finding a little bit different purpose where she feels like she can work and she doesn't always have to do what Piper is saying to do.
Yes, she'll go away. She puts herself away in the kennel, which is kind of nice. I wish she could close the door too.
Right.
But
Yep.
but anyway, she'll just go and I'll find her, and she does that at night too, where she'll go somewhere quiet, and when she's ready, she'll come jump up on the bed.
Yeah.
To go to bed. So it's interesting, and I don't force it and saying you have to come right now with me.
Right.
She needs that space.
Yeah. And I think it's important to recognize the different personalities, because sometimes when we get all the dogs together, that all of a sudden they're all kind of the same to us, no matter what the breed, they're all kind of the same thing going on, and you kind of forget that they're individuals and that they all need to do their own thing. Michelle, what are some things that you do in your household to help keep your pack, each of them an individual versus one unit?
I mean, now that they're older, I don't know if I really do, but that's not true. I feel like Murphy is probably the biggest one that needs his own individual time. Probably because the other two were raised together so closely that they now cannot be separated. So, but we've always done training separately. We've never, ever, ever trained together, ever. That's never been a thing. That if we're working on something with one of them, the other two get put away. And now that they're older, obviously that doesn't happen as much as it did when they were younger, But no, I mean, every once in a while I'll get home and I'm like, I'm really going to work my dogs today. And it's still a good, 15, 20 minutes with each of them that they get. I mean, there's other stuff too. If I ever have a slow day with work and stuff, I'll bring Murphy because he enjoys that, where my other two don't. Where the other two actually really love going for rides in the car. So if we're just running errands, they get to do that. And Murphy stays home. I would really say all three of my dogs enjoy completely different things, and we just associate those into our lives where they would like to be.
Yeah. Shannon, how do you, having one dog, how do you help Louis find his balance and purpose and not get smothered into everyday people life?
I try to find things that he enjoys, and so that can be anything. Trying new experiences and seeing how it goes. Try a new game. Try a different routine from what I normally do to see what he likes better. And so then if you have special things that you do with your dog at certain times, it becomes like their thing that you do. Louis likes to be tickled. We play a tickle game where we chase him around and tickle him. And he's the only dog that I've ever had that likes that. And it's really weird. But we just play this game called Tickle the Doggy, and we chase him around and tickle him. And he loves it. And that's just like a thing that's only him. No other dog I've ever met in my whole life has that as their thing. And so you just kind of happen on these things by playing with your dog and trying different things, to see what they like, I had a Schnauzer when I was little that he liked to play a chasing game only with socks, and he had his own socks, so he didn't ever eat ours. So he had his own socks that he'd play with, and we'd chase him around and play keep away with the socks, And so it just kind of depends. Every dog has a different personality and different things that they like, and you have to kind of figure out what those things are that they enjoy and try to do those things with them, so it's not all about you.
Our old dog, the older he's gotten, the more routine and it's almost annoying, because he's got this such strict schedule that he thinks he's on right now. And he's always, for as long as we can remember, he's always walked up to Chris and stepped on his foot. There's a lot of I am really the one in charge and will always be in charge. And so Chris the other day took his foot and took it out from underneath him and stepped on his foot. And rested his foot on his, and he moved it and stepped back on Chris like, no, I don't think you know that I'm still in charge, and there's even those little things that, like, he really is like the king around here. I mean, he's really like, he's in charge, and we let him have that, but there's those subtle things that are like, I get it. We'll let you keep that position, So it's fun to hear that you're, Jill, that you're allowing each of them to be who they want to be, and training accordingly. But how do you, when you're working them, we've been working on going to the porch, right?
Yes.
And so if they do get outside, we're going to run to the porch. So just building up the tools that we have to prevent them from just going.
Yes.
And so what's Piper's reaction versus Bailey's reaction with that skill?
Well, Bailey, she's lanky and lops kind of too. She always gets tangled in the leash.
Uh-huh.
I think she does a couple backflips. The other day I was dragging her on her back down the driveway and didn't know. Right. And Piper just kind of runs along, but none of them want the treats at the end. They just want the praise. None of them, they won't eat the treats at the Target. Okay. So it's kind of funny. But no, Bailey wants the attaboys and the loves and the rubs and the woohoo and give me 5. And Piper just kind of looks at you like, okay, I'm a good dog. Right. But I didn't do it. I tried it with the old dog too, so all 3 of them.
Okay.
And that was not a good idea. Because I was tangled. They were tangled. A couple of them fell down the stairs. Right. And it would have been a good YouTube video because it was hilarious. But so no, they do react differently. Yeah. Bailey needs the praise. She needs that all the way around. Yeah. And the treats became the non-issue. It became the get to the porch and get the praise.
Nice.
So but Piper would lead a lot of the time. And so I tried to do it alone with them. Uh-huh. And it was interesting. Bailey would get more distracted on the way back to the house.
Interesting.
Than the porch. So it's been kind of interesting. Yeah. And every day is a little bit different. But I think Piper kind of looks at me like, why are we doing this?
Right. Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you feel like? It's probably something that we haven't really addressed because we've focused so much on Bailey and kind of figuring out who she was and what she needed instead of getting into trouble because that's what she was doing. With Piper, what do you feel like where's her purpose? Like Bailey, you find, I'm doing this and you see like she's working and she's there. And if Piper's saying, I don't get this, but I guess we're going to do it. Where do you think she's at? Like, what does she need to have her own purpose?
You know what? I haven't quite figured out Piper's purpose because she wants you to hold her, but she doesn't want to be close. So she pulls away if you get close to her, and she'll stiff arm you, and she'll pull her head away. And so it's really interesting to watch her just on that kind of interaction. But even the targeting, she got it, but wasn't excited really about. She wants the treat, but wasn't excited about the praise or anything, and she got bored very easily with it. Yeah. So I don't know what her purpose is. I think it's to be a buddy to Addie. I don't know, my old dog. Yeah. Because she, sits with Addie and lays by Addie and everything, and I don't know if that's turned into kind of her purpose to keep her her plugging away. Yeah. Because when I take them, I can take those 2 on a walk, no problem, and they're fine together, but Piper wants to walk right next, like literally touching Addie. Wants to be right next to her. So it's kind of interesting to watch. Yeah. And Bailey's just jumping up going, am I a good dog? Am I a good dog? Woo, yeah. So I guess I don't know Piper's purpose. So maybe I'm a bad dog mom for that.
No, it's a journey, right? I mean, it's trying to figure out where they all fit in. Yeah. And maybe it is. I mean, she definitely, Piper could be Addie's caregiver. Mm-hmm. There's just some dogs within, just like human beings, there's caregivers and the not caregivers. I'm not a caregiver as far as people are, as it relates to people, so, and I'm thankful that there are caregivers out there because that's not me. So maybe that is hers and that's okay. Yeah. But the one thing that you have to be careful with is when Addie goes, she may become Bailey's caregiver. Yes. And Bailey may accept that, or Bailey may say, like, I don't need that. So it will be interesting through the journey of, she is the caregiver. She's the one that if human beings were not involved and were in the pack, that she would be raising all the puppies. Not necessarily delivering them all, but raising them, like taking care of, making sure they're safe within the den and all of that. And they do play that role. So it could be.
Interesting. She's my most obedient, too. When I say come, she comes.
Yeah.
Or, hurry and let's go. And she
Right.
goes, although she does get still awful on the leash.
Yeah, but
yeah.
she's just like in human beings, right? You have the people that are nurturers and caregivers.
Yes.
They're softer. They're more connected. They want to be there. They want to kind of take on everybody's stuff. And so they will connect deeper
Right.
than those of us that are not.
That's why it's good to have many different kinds of people or
that's
dogs
right.
in the world.
And that's why I find, even in a family with dogs, that the dog plays some kind of a role. Michelle, if you could describe describe the roles of your family.
It's funny, as you were saying that, I was seriously I was like, Prudence has no purpose with me at all. My Cavalier. She really doesn't. But she works really well because she has a lot of purpose in my husband, and my husband, like, they're very bonded. So don't feel bad because, like, we've found that, but me and Prudence don't. I mean, we have a relationship and it's fine and stuff, but there's no purpose for her, for me, or vice versa. There's just not. There never has been. But it works out really well because I think my other two are completely opposite, and we're very bonded and I don't think they are as well with Brandon, my husband. So it's really interesting. You would probably be able to tell me more of what my dog's purposes are than I can. Prudence is, yeah, that's what I was going to say. So Prudence is, I think she's definitely more of a caregiver, but at the same time, she's not. It's a very weird thing. She has this very weird thing that, like, if I'm not feeling well, that's when she wants to be around me. So she does have that, like, nurturing side of her, but yet Prudence's life is all about her, and it always has been. So it's a very weird, like, with her, I'm not, like, really... But maybe that's just the feeling I have because I don't have purpose in her and she doesn't have it in me. So maybe if you were talking to my husband, this would be a totally different story. But
Because she loves him.
yes. Oh, yes. Yes, she loves him. Yeah. So, but if I'm ever not feeling well, she is definitely the caregiver. Always. And she always has been. She's really funny. She's my dog that will go put herself to bed and stuff too. And I just don't force her to be with us, where the other two are always with us. Always. Yeah. The other two, oh man, I feel like I have such purpose with them, but I don't know like how to describe it.
Yeah. So who is Rambo as a human being?
Rambo as a human being. It's funny because we've always talked about Prudence being like my alpha, and she probably is, but Rambo has always been the leader of the pack. Like he's definitely like how we described it as the wolf. Like he's the one out hunting. He's the one. So he's probably like the leader of siblings. Like he would be the big brother that's like not taking care of everybody, but making sure that everybody is in line. Yeah. Where Murphy is definitely treated more of a baby, and he's my baby, and is definitely the shadow and is always with us. Yeah.
Who's Louie as a human being?
He's like the sidekick helper. Like, do you want to go do this? Sure. Do you want to go do this? Sure. Do you want to go do this? Sure. You know, and then, or anything you're doing. I think I should help with that. I think I should help with that. Are you sure that you don't need help with that? You know, so he just follows you around and helps. And it's whoever is there, you know, if somebody's doing something, oh, I can see that you need me to come and help you with that. So yeah, that's what he does.
My two, Chianti is definitely, I'm really glad she's not a human being because it's hard enough having teenagers. She would be a hard teenager. She would be like sneaking out, partying, but very innocent about it all, like not happening. So I'm really thankful that she's not a human being, actually. And Bora is really, he's kind of the party guy. Everybody loves him. And he's always does no wrong. But he also takes on everybody else's issues. If somebody's barking downstairs, he's slinking away, or if Chianti's chasing the cat, he comes in, and so he's like, oh, we're going to get in trouble if you keep doing that. So yeah, and that's kind of how you have to, because that's the only thing we can relate to of how we describe our dogs, and then that's kind of the direction that you go in with training, because that's how we can relate to it. And dogs in general, because we've domesticated them into our family, they all kind of fit in somewhere, just like our family does. And we don't necessarily have to like them all the time either. They'll fight like siblings, and it's very, very normal. So, Jill, if you had any advice for all the dog owners out there, I think probably you are, you're kind of in the realm of, I've bit off too much more than I can chew, right? But not really. I mean, you work through it, but a lot of families are there, whether it's one dog or two dogs or three dogs. But what advice do you have as a dog owner for people out there?
Oh man, there's so much. No, I think the biggest thing is it's consistency. I have found by putting the time in and being consistent, the weeks that I am or the times that I am, I notice a huge difference, and everything is good in the house. And I don't have to worry that, one dog is chewing a rug, which I have replaced, I think, 3 rugs since I've had the puppies. And, they're not destroying anything, and they're happy, and I'm just happier. Yeah. And even though it takes some time out of my day, it doesn't have to be a lot of time to make it right. Worth it and make it valuable in training. And it's just sometimes it's even just an interaction that you can either you're praising it or you're not. Yep. And they're learning from that. So I think the biggest thing is consistency. Yeah. And like you've said in this, that every dog is different. And I think if you can acknowledge that and realize that, we're not putting them into a cookie cutter, that we're making them all do the same thing. Right. So I would never take Bailey to a dog park. She doesn't like other dogs. Right. She, that's just the way it is. And so being able to do that and understanding each dog has a different need is that too. But I think consistency really is the biggest thing. Yeah. And I think, praises to you. I love, this is super funny, and I get a kick out of it every time, is I would say about every other time that we have training, one of the girls gets up on the table. And they look like, see what I'm getting away with? And you know what? I love it because it's real. Like, that's life, and we're always so like trying to have the perfect dog, or we're trying to create this. And they're like, no, this is who I really am. And I get up on the table all the time, and so I love that, is that you keep your household incredibly real, and but you have expectations the same way. I mean, they're dogs, and the chairs slid out, and why would I not get up on the table? But that's why I didn't like cats. They got up on the table. So now I have dogs that get up on the table. It's kind of awful. And they did it in front of you, which was horrible. It's like doing it in front of the teacher. I just love it. It just makes me smile every time when I leave, because it's like, it's good. It's real, right? It's not... some homes that we go into, people are so afraid to just kind of open up and let things happen, because it's easier for a trainer to say, this is how we can fix this, or is it worth battling, right? But some people kind of box us in, and I've one that the whole time she's talking to me, and we had her dog in for training and stayed in here, and there's something off about him. There was something off, but I could never get it out of her. And then as things started happening, he got away from her, and he got hit by a car, and he got hit in the head pretty severely. Well, that makes a big difference on how we're going to train or where our expectations are. And so you keep it real, and that is what I love, because you have to keep it real to be honest about where you're at and what battles you face, and so our dogs aren't they're not perfect, and so I enjoy that, and this kind of part of the reason why I wanted you on here is that you have 2 schnauzers, 2 female schnauzers at that, and I think it's really cool that
it's a battle. I mean, if you have one schnauzer, you either have a really good one or you have a really terrible one. And terrible, I mean by it's typically a barking thing with schnauzers. And so your two girls, I feel like, are very level, like they're in the middle, and it's your journey. And you've let them be them within rules and boundaries, and I just love it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
You're
all
welcome.
of your help to make me a good stay-at-home dog mom.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Do you have any questions for? Thank you for listening. If you want to know more about us and our services, please visit our website at www.wsk9co.com. And as always, we urge you to get out and train.